So back in August 2006, just 1 year after releasing arguably the greatest zombies game ever made, Capcom would hit us with Dead Rising, the wacky younger brother to their most popular series. Now, I've been a massive fan of this series for years, so you can imagine my excitement when I look and see that it's getting a remaster. My boy Frank fucking West is looking fine. Now, I've certainly spent my fair share of time across these games, at the very least what I consider the OG titles. So for me that's Dead Rising 1, Dead Rising 2, and Dead Rising Off the Record. Now, at their core, these are just simply fantastic games, like literally just from the gameplay itself, the replayability value they hold, the memorable characters, the memorable areas. They're just pure sandbox fun, and they just allow the player to dictate the choices that they make. Like, if you want to sit there and just rack up thousands of zombie kills, ignore all the missions, let everybody die, it doesn't matter, you can do that. If you want to go and do every single case, all the side quests, rescue all the survivors, you can do that. It's entirely up to your discretion, which I think is fantastic. Not only have you got like psychopaths there, which genuinely for me are probably one of the best aspects of the game. You've got secret missions, which can obviously unlock you some cool shit. Again, thinking Dead Rising 1, you get the Mega Man Blaster if you do all the kills, stuff like that. The only thing that Dead Rising 1 doesn't have, which the other two titles do, which I've mentioned, and it honestly feels like they did improve upon it in this element, is combo weapons. Now, when it comes to the remaster, it's my understanding at the very least that these haven't been included. And again, this fully makes sense to me because obviously it's a faithful remaster. They didn't appear in the game, they weren't a thing at that time, just as simple as that. So the fact that they're not in there, although it does make sense, it is a little bit disappointing because I feel like they bring such a big aspect and a big element to the wackiness and the fun that is Dead Rising. I mean, who doesn't want to attach knives to boxing gloves and be fucking Wolverine for 10 minutes? It's just so much fun. Despite this lack of combos though, there are going to be new elements included in the remaster. Some of these additions being an autosave feature, which I don't know how to feel about this. I'm not unhappy with it because, again, modern gaming, kind of get it, every game has an autosave feature, right? But there was something quite fun, or just quite... It's just an element of Dead Rising you get used to. You just run to a toilet and save, in the same way in Resident Evil you get your ink ribbons and you go to a typewriter and save. It's really stupid when you think about it, and an autosave does make more sense and it's probably way less like rage-inducing, but it's fine. It's a little thing that they've put in there, whatever, it makes sense. Again, I guess when it comes to Carlito, for example, you probably want to have an autosave before you fight that motherfucker. There is also apparently an ability to fast forward time, which I guess can be beneficial in a way if you're like looking for specific achievements or if you want to get to a certain aspect of the narrative maybe. I don't know. Again, I feel like that kind of takes away from the whole point of Dead Rising, which is trying to manage your time and obviously do shit on the clock, getting all the cases done, getting all the side missions done, yada yada yada. But again, it's going to be an optional thing, right? So it's a bit of a nitpick. And realistically, probably is quite a nice option to have. Of course, there are other titles in the franchise, and no, I don't mean Case Zero, even though I did actually quite enjoy that. I'm talking about Dead Rising 3 and Dead Rising 4. Now, I quite like Dead Rising 3. I feel like it's almost a little bit forgotten, to be honest. Like, there was such a big scale, and you could craft combo weapons on the go, and that was really, really cool. I think the size of it kind of took away from it a little bit. Like, it was a little bit over-reliant on the use of vehicles and combo vehicles and stuff, which again is all cool stuff, and it on the Xbox One it looked fantastic, to be fair. However, Dead Rising 4, that shit sucks ass, right? Like, there was no co-op. I know there was about 1 billion layoffs made in the development of that game, which probably makes sense as to why it's so shit, but it felt nothing like any of the predecessors. And this sort of brings me to the crux of the video, why this Dead Rising remaster really has to be a success. There's no two ways about it. Like, it can't be mediocre. Obviously, we don't want it to flop, but it needs to be brilliant, and it needs to be very well received, because Dead Rising 4 genuinely, like, ended the franchise, realistically. I mean, it's clearly something's being made now, but when did Dead Rising 4 come out? Like 2017? Either way, it's been like a 7-8 year gap since that game came out, right? And not only was it absolute bullshit, it literally cancelled the sequel game. There was meant to be a Dead Rising 5 come out. It was meant to be all about Chuck and Katie Green down in Mexico. It was all meant to be lit. And it all fell away for how bad that game was, how poorly it was received. I'm fairly sure that Capcom Vancouver actually shut down because of it. So the importance behind the success of this game is absolutely monumental. Just to not only keep the franchise alive, but just to keep Capcom in the game in multiple areas. Obviously, we know how successful Resident Evil is, and long may that continue with the remakes and stuff that they've done. So, I don't think Dead Rising will emulate that as much. However, if they can get this right and they can nail it, this will be an absolutely fine addition and hopefully start a trend of Dead Rising remakes and remasters. And then maybe you'd look and maybe get a Dead Rising 5 come out if this game can show that the popularity is still there. Overall though, and again, it's not just because I am such a big fan of the franchise, I'm thrilled that they have decided to remaster this game. And again, it makes sense not only from a numerical perspective in the sense of, oh, you start with the first one, right? But from an actual narrative piece, I do genuinely think that this is probably the best story and involves the best characters. The likes of, obviously, Frank West is just a fucking goat, right? Like, everybody loves Frank West. He's funny, he's charismatic, he obviously doesn't take shit. There's an actual backstory behind who he is as a character, in the sense he's just a reporter, he's trying to win big. It's a little bit more nuanced than, say, a Chuck Green, who, I get it, is just basically all about his daughter, right? But the story itself, obviously, you have the likes of Isabella and Carlito, obviously, all of the other orphans that were tested on. It's really, really interesting. It does such a great job of building that world. And a narrative certainly isn't the biggest element of Dead Rising. Like, it's just not. But it really does shine through compared to any of the other games. A lot of the other games do just lean into the wacky fun that is making a load of stupid weapons and just basically going on a killing spree. And that's what they're grateful to. But I do think Dead Rising 1 blends the lines between those two things. And the actual story itself is honestly just pretty cool. Like, I know a lot of people summarize it almost as like consumerism bad. But, like, and I guess that is an element to it. But I just really sort of see it personally as almost like it's like the whole Mother Nature stuff, where like if you go against Mother Nature for too long, Mother Nature bites back. They're doing all the testing and all that fucking shit, and then all of a sudden, bam, they've started fucking zombie outbreaks. Overall though, I am really desperate for this game to be successful. I am really looking forward to replaying the game again with little bit improvements, and you never know, they might do something fun in there. Again, obviously with Dead Rising 1 specifically, you've got that 7-day survivor achievement, so obviously going through just on infinity mode, seeing how long you can live. That offers so much fucking replay value. I can't wait to actually try and do that, because I'll be honest, I did it back on the 360 and it broke my entire fucking console, so it'll be nice to do that on a more updated setting. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think this will be a success? Do you want this game to succeed? Have you ever actually played Dead Rising 1? I mean, it's been, what, nearly 19 years? So this is a great opportunity for you to try it out if you haven't already. But if you are enjoying these gaming videos, please do consider subscribing, and hopefully see you guys in the next one soon.